Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome to my channel, I Hate Rock Music. And this video is going to be about a band called Backjack. And one of the things that makes record collecting really interesting the last few years, particularly, and in fact, I would say probably the last 10 or 20 years, as a matter of fact, is a lot of lost records or great bands or albums that were unknown at the time that because of the interest in 60s and 70s music are getting released. And my hat tip to Riding Easy Records for digging up a couple of real gems. And one of the ones they dug up was this band called Backjack. And a lot of times, some of the records can be somewhat disappointing or period pieces. But in a case like Backjack, we've got a great band that it's hard to imagine that they've languished in obscurity for all these years. Just incredible. So let's get into the facts a little bit. Backjack came out of St. Louis, Missouri. 1971, they were called Trellis, and then by 1973, they changed their name to Backjack. And the band was Kim McKinney on bass and vocals, Mike Collier on guitar and lead vocals, Hans Myers on drums, and that was the core trio that started in 1971. And then they added Jeff Ballou on second guitar and switched drummers to Mike Lusher as the drummer in 1974. And so the tracks that are on this album are basically from 1974. And they had a pretty high profile and had a great reputation. They opened for Blue Oyster Cult, Trapeze, James Gang, Rush, The Flock, Ted Nugent, Canned Heat, and J.D. Blackfoot. So they had some pretty notable shows, and they were around till about 1975. And it's really incredible that not only did this band exist and have this great reputation and really was firing on all pistons, but the fact that so many of the recordings were lost. There's a great interview in It's Psychedelic Baby that I'll post below, where he talks about the fact that it's really hard to track down good recordings. The master tapes were lost to the studio recordings they made. A lot of live recordings apparently that weren't that good of quality. Although I'd love to hear what this band was like live. Incredibly powerful, and I guess they did a lot of great covers, and those would be interesting to hear as well. And the other thing that's interesting about a band like Backjack is they had everything going for them, and yet they submitted their demos to CBS Records, and they were turned down. And in fact, in that article I posted below it, they actually have the rejection letter from CBS that CBS decided to move on and not sign the band. Incredible opportunity lost by both the band and the label, because I think this band could have been really great. The reason why I say that is when you hear the demo, they're a fully realized band, and you really couldn't get any better. The rhythm section's killer, particularly the drummer. And Mike Collier, the guitar player and lead vocalist, is truly astonishing. A true rock star. Not only are his rhythm playing excellent with a great tone and just very powerful playing, but his leads are really tasty too, and really a great guitar player. And then his lead vocals are truly astonishing. He's one of the best rock vocalists I think I've ever heard. He's got a little bit of the tonal quality of Mark Farner, and then also has Mark Farner's excellent vibrato. And then he has these high notes and soulfulness that are a lot like Glenn Hughes of Trapeze. And so I think there's definitely some influence on Backjack from Trapeze. And in fact, not only does Mike Collier hit some of these high notes and sound very reminiscent of Glenn Hughes, but there's a couple points on these demos where he hits notes that are even higher than Glenn Hughes. Really amazing. So truly a rock star. The fact that this guy didn't make it and isn't a household name is really astonishing. And in fact, there's a song on this album too where it's just him solo on piano, and it's just gorgeous. Just got a beautiful voice, nice keyboard playing, and beautiful songs. And that's the other thing. The songs are really good on this record, and really as good as the bands that they are opening for a lot of times. I don't say that lightly. If you're going to open for Trapeze, you're going to have a hard time. But Backjack can definitely go toe to toe with Trapeze from what I'm hearing on this record, and I would love to have heard like what their entire repertoire was. But we're really lucky to have this album. There's a lot of great, powerful rockers on it. There's one long power ballad, you might call it, that's pretty heavy, called Satisfied Man, that goes through a whole bunch of different extrapolations and tangents, with a lot of parts being really super heavy, with Mike Collier's incredible vocals on them, and just a stunning piece of work. And in their lifetime, they only released one single, 1974, a song called Over and Over on World Concept Records, obviously a local label. But they must have been huge favorites in the St. Louis, Missouri area, and everything that I've read about them, which is as much as I can find. It sounds like they were definitely kings of the local scene, and well they should be. As I mentioned, that roster of bands they opened for, like the James Gang and Trapeze and Ted Nugent, and Backjack is not lacking for anything to go head to head with all these great bands. So they're around from 71 to 75. We have these 74 demos. I would really be curious to hear their earlier incarnation in 1971, because that would have been the time when bands like Grand Funk and Trapeze were very active. And hearing this band as a power trio must have really been something to hear. They certainly wouldn't have been lacking with such a powerful sound, and Mike Collier's excellent guitar work and lead vocals. So there isn't much else to say about the band. I'm going to post it below, but this is one of those moments where you find an obscure band, and you search through all kinds of obscure bands over the years, and some of them are mixed bag, some are better than others. They all have their own flavors, their own charms. And then you run across a band like Backjack, and you're just floored that something like this could languish in the vaults for 40 years, and the only people that knew about them, the people that were out there seeing them live. Doesn't sound like they ever toured nationally, and it's just unbelievable that no major labels were interested in this band. If they'd been putting out records, gotten signed and been putting out records since 1971, they would definitely be a household name right now, because as I always say, they check all the boxes. Killer rhythm section, great arrangements, great harmony vocals, stunning, absolutely stunning lead vocalist, really good songs, and great lead guitar work. So there's nothing lacking here at all, other than the fact that I wish we had a lot more material from them. So needless to say, I'm posting it below, uh, getting back to some of the hard stuff that a lot of my viewers probably like as much as I do. And Backjack is definitely one of the greats. And there's no argument at all whether they're a first or second or third tier band. They're totally a first tier band that could have been huge. And hearing this stuff from 1974, I would love to have an album before that, and an album before that, and an album after that, and another album after that. They have everything you could want from a powerful hard rock band in every respect. Totally amazing. So check them out. It's the first time you've heard them and you like a lot of the hard rock bands I talk about, you're in for a total treat. A real stunner. Thanks for watching. I'm Brian Fox. Thanks for watching I Hate Rock Music.